Red Bull's season has really taken off since the first few races, but the Azerbaijan Grand Prix could throw a spanner in the works. The team had some major issues in the first 3 races, which saw Max Verstappen retire twice. But one of the problems was not visible from the outside of the car, and could become a major issue for the next race. Stay with us because this one deserves some explanation. There are 3 main things that could cause Red Bull big problems at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. The first is the tyres, with Pirelli bringing the 3 softest compounds to Baku. The second is the team's DRS fix. The third is the team's front suspension design, which may be a big contributor to their biggest weakness. Let's start off by looking at the tyres that Pirelli will be bringing to Baku. The C3, C4, and C5 compound tyres will be available to the teams, which are the 3 softest tyres. The temperature on race day is expected to be around 30 degrees centigrade, and the weather forecast at the moment is for plenty of sun. What this means is that track temperatures will be high, meaning the softer compounds will have plenty of speed to offer. Despite Baku being a street circuit like Monaco, teams tend to run much lower downforce setups due to high-speed sections of the track. In fact, the track holds the unofficial record for the fastest race speed in an F1 car. Back in 2016, Valtteri Bottas, who was driving for Williams at the time, exceeded a reported 378 km per hour. Because of the low downforce setup, the tyres don't get worn as much, so the softest compounds can be used. Why might this be a problem for Red Bull? Well, if you throw your mind back to the last round in Monaco, you'll remember that Sergio Perez absolutely destroyed his tyres. The low-speed, high downforce setup is meant to actually preserve tyres better, as the tyres slide less. But while defending against Sainz, this didn't seem to be the case. With a lower downforce setup in Baku, those low-speed corners are going to be even more punishing on the tyres, especially with the C5 compound tyre bolted onto the car. Perez is known for his ability to preserve his tyres, but something about the Red Bull in Monaco seemed to make this hard to do. If this is a problem in Baku, then Red Bull might be vulnerable to losing out to a Ferrari strategy that sees them stop less times than Red Bull does. The demands of this city track are still relatively low, as none of the corners take a huge amount of energy out of the tyres due to the low levels of abrasion and contained lateral loads, which means that we can have the same nominations as Monaco. Mario Isola, the head of Pirelli's motorsport division, acknowledges that the Azerbaijan venue still poses some challenges for the tyres though. Having said that, the high speeds in Azerbaijan still place a certain demand on the tyres, he added. That is probably the first and least of Red Bull's worries though. Their main focus needs to be on the DRS actuators that went so badly wrong for the team in Spain on Max Verstappen's car. The reigning world champion got stuck behind George Russell for what must have felt like forever, as his DRS just wouldn't work properly. I can already hear you thinking, but they fixed this, right? It wasn't a problem in Monaco. You are right, it wasn't a problem in Monaco because the track is so painfully slow. On the streets of Monte Carlo, DRS gets opened at 160 km an hour. Whereas the high-speed straights of Baku require the DRS to be opened at 300 km an hour. The DRS flap gets pulled open by a small rod attached to the center of the wing. This is the problem because the amount of force that 300 km an hour generates on the DRS flap is so much greater than the force created at 160 km an hour. Imagine you're getting out of your car on a windy day. You know, the days when it's so windy you have to put your shoulder into it to push it open. That's the effect we're talking about. The rod and wing have to deal with an incredible aerodynamic load, and Red Bull's weight-saving regime was to blame for Max not being able to use his DRS in Spain. Images of the reinforcement work done to Max and Checo's rear wing circulated after the race, and it was clear that Red Bull had made a mistake. Baku will be the first real test of that fix though. If Red Bull fails to get the DRS working consistently, you can guarantee the highlight reels of Max Verstappen swearing over team radio will be making the rounds on Monday morning. The Dutchman was furious when it happened in Spain, and you can bet money he'll be even angrier if it happens again this weekend. The final issue the team faces is related to their problems through the low-speed parts of the track. Before the race in Monte Carlo, we knew they weren't quick at low speeds, but the severity of the situation and potentially the reason for it was on show. In the tightest corners, the RB18 did not corner as precisely and stably as the Ferrari F175. The problem was seen most clearly through the swimming pool section of the circuit, and also through other high-speed corners where a sudden change of direction was required. This will be a bigger issue in Baku for Red Bull. The Azerbaijan street circuit is characterized by its high-speed straights, followed by incredibly tight turns at the end of them. If the drivers are struggling to maneuver their car through the relatively low-speed streets of Monaco, then Baku will be much more difficult. The car is running a pull rod suspension setup. The front arms of the upper wishbones are linked together, creating a single element. This is done to create a stiffer suspension setup that should in theory make the car more agile. The problem is that the design has been too good at its job and has made the suspension too stiff. The consequence of this is that the RB18 is unable to get into the tighter corners as quickly as they would like, and the team are losing lap time because of it. Is it a fixable problem though? The answer in F1 is always yes, but is it a problem they actually want to fix? Any solution they come up with will likely require them to redesign their front suspension, and that's going to be a very expensive thing to do. With how vocal Christian Horner has been about the budget caps being too strict, it seems unlikely that we'll see a change for Baku. That's probably enough of the doom and gloom for Red Bull's race. Let's have a look at some of the positives instead. Red Bull have claimed they have already decided their setup to ensure Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez can beat Ferrari at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Red Bull chief engineer Paul Monahan does say that it's because they won't be developing the car for individual tracks though, presumably due to the budget constraints. In particular, he was looking at how downforce and drag packages could be used to get the best result. Monahan said, "I think Baku will pull everybody in one particular direction. I think Silverstone, that could produce a bit of difference, shall we say. Spielberg will produce a bit of difference. In Hungary, I expect there'll be a convergence again, but that's track nature and how we best exploit our lap time, isn't it? So at the moment, I'd say we've got our trade reasonably good. But come the final race in Abu Dhabi, we might have got it right or wrong. So, what is the advantage of the team not bringing specific changes for Baku? Well, they can set up their simulators for Max and Checo with a specification of car that will be incredibly similar to what they'll run at the track. They can begin fine-tuning the setup to exploit the most time possible and planning where they'll fight Ferrari. It's unlikely they will take the fight to the prancing horse in the low-speed section, instead opting for the long start-finish straight where the better top speed could make overtaking easy. That is, of course, if their DRS is working. The other thing that will be working in the team's favour is that Mercedes are not expected to be a threat again. The Silver Arrows showed some fight in Barcelona, but in Monaco they dropped off the leaders again in terms of lap time, and Baku is likely to be the same. Russell thinks Mercedes' W13 car will have better pace in Baku, although likely not enough to challenge Ferrari and Red Bull. It definitely will be more suited, but I don't think it's going to transform our finishing position, Russell said ahead of the next race. At the moment, around Monaco we're 6 tenths behind, and into Baku we'll probably be 3 tenths behind the front runners, we hope, for the best case. What that means is that Red Bull will probably be in a direct fight with Ferrari and no one else in Azerbaijan. In Monaco, they outshone the Scuderia, but it wasn't due to their own good moves. If Ferrari have an implosion this weekend like they did in Monaco, then people will really start to question their title credentials. Even if Ferrari don't shoot themselves in the tyre, they can expect a serious battle with Red Bull, assuming they have their DRS fixed and ready to go for one of the fastest tracks on the calendar. Want to know why the F175 is so fast? Then click the video showing on your screen and I'll see you there.